And thank you, Catalys, for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. And today's talk, if it works, technology, I'm going to a little bit talk about my research career journey and also the NIHR Fellowships, what is available, and also the top tips, tricks, and traps for applying for the NIHR professorship. You may ask why, because I worked 25 years in the MFT, as Judy says, and also I have moved up the career to a professor of nursing in surgical practice, and I just completed my NIHR postdoctoral fellow. So let me talk you through how I have achieved and how you can able to move forward. So who am I? My personal pathway, a little bit for you to know. I come from a very, very small city in India, and I always wanted to be a pilot. But what happened is in 1980s and all, they said, the family said, oh, sorry, you are a girl, Indian girl, you cannot go anywhere outside of the town. And also I loved the horticultural research. So I started did my BSc in botany because I loved, and then I wanted to move to the marine biology, and I started doing lots of field work. And that time of the era, it was not achievable or anything for the girl to do. So they forced me to do a nursing. However, I really enjoyed it. So how I developed my professional pathway? In 1995, I came to the Manchester as a scrub nurse in trauma and orthopedics, and then joined the cardiothoracic surgery. And the theatre practitioner job I started in 2001 in Manchester, 2005, because I loved the surgery and what the cardiac thoracic surgery and specialists they were doing it. I asked if there is any way that I can able to. They gave me two options. One, I can go as a medical student and start my career back again, which is impossible because I come on the working visa as a nurse. The second thing they gave is, oh, you can do a diploma in cardiothoracic surgical assistance at the Royal College of Surgeons. Nowadays it's called surgical care practitioner. Many of you have heard about it. I started that and completed in 2005. It's a 2-year in-house. Then I asked, can I start my academic career because I want to do my research? They said, no, sorry, your qualification from India is not acceptable. You will get accreditation. So I have to redo the whole BSc Honours in clinical practice at the University of Manchester, completed 2007. And then I had an opportunity in 2014 to start 2 years MPhil in translational medicine. And what I explored that is which technique reduces the wound infection on the donor leg for coronary artery bypass surgery. Most of you have seen in cardiac surgery, coronary artery bypass surgery is one of the golden standard surgery. And many patients, they complain always the problem in the leg rather than the chest wound. And that's what it fired me to do this. And my MPhil work in translational medicine involved clinical work and also lab-based work and also the research. And that came up with an idea of, oh, the technique is not the problem the way we do. Then I started applying for the NIHR in PhD and completed in 2017 the vein integrity and clinical outcome. That means it's a bridging the gap of what happens in clinical and what happens in the lab when it is a harvested vein and whether there is any connection between those two. In 2025, recently, I completed my post-doctoral fellowship where I have found that the development of the structured training program for keyhole surgery is very, very important because the way we train, if you look at it, 20th century, see one, do one attitude, but now what we have, do 2 weeks and then the companies leave you to do on your own. And that's what all about my fellowship is about. So how I started as a nurse, plus I like to talk to the patients, and we, as you all do, we regularly visit the patients pre and post surgery as part of my diploma in Royal College of Surgeons work. Between 2005 and 2008, I found lots of blisters of wound due to poor quality dressing. That time, some of you can remember we used to use Me-Pour dressing, and that causes a blister of the wounds and also keeps moist and doesn't allow to heal. Then I started with an audit. That's what my starting as a wound infection audit. Then I moved to the different preparations of the surgical audits. and then followed by the vein harvesting technique. Because if you see 90 centimeter wound, the patients have lots of pain. They were really not happy, and it was like a keloid formation of the scars as well. And that's what it made me. All the research came out from the patient's ideas. And then when I wanted to do a surgical research, then I've been told, sorry, it's only for doctors, surgical nurses and theater nurses can only collect the data, be a research nurse for a project. You cannot do that. And then I thought, okay, that's fine. Then I started understanding about the data collection, data integrity, validity, and analysis. I sat with lots of other people who are not criticized me, who are interested in teaching. Then you can ask, why surgical research career? Why can't you do any other? Lots of people, they go as an academic career, teach and do research. But I love the clinical component, because the clinical component which makes me very happy. And this is the reason, as I talked to you all about the open vein harvesting on the donor leg, which has a long cut, and you can see the bruising, and also you see the redness of the healing, and also keloid formation. And the patients have 2% to 45% of chances of infection, and 95% of patients had always pain after surgery. And then I went to Germany and learned about the bridging technique, where you can still have the patient's skin there, which will allows and promote healing, and also reduction of less infection, and also less chance of pain. But still you can see in the thigh area, the patients are having a little bit of bruising. Then I went to States to learn about this 2 centimeter incision, which have avoid all the pain, infection rate, reduces infection rate, and better patient satisfaction. I thought, oh, that is really good. And that's what I started my research career. So why research career? I talked about you sometime, is because of the less postoperative pain, less wound infection, and better patient satisfaction. And however, if you look at it, the open vein, I'm sorry to show you this picture, but this is the reality of patients with peripheral vascular disease, and also patients with many other problems such as diabetes and non-healing wound, and patients on steroids. And that's what it's all happened to reduce this, and how can we improve their patient satisfaction, wound appearance, and also less pain. And the EVH and the OVH has the highest pain. And also when you look at it, patients with the satisfaction, the EVH has the highest satisfaction. So you may ask, did I do it on my own? No, it's all full department support. It's very important to share the work among the colleagues and make sure that they all are on board. And also teamwork is very, very important in any clinical research activities, because one person cannot run the show of clinical research. And also you need to have the motive, because there is no time being allocated in our clinical hours. Most of the time we've been asked to do the work or scrub for the case. If you are in the theaters, if you're in the ward, you are constantly on your feet. And I would suggest that one project at a time is very, very important. The other thing I liked it most with the patients is the randomized controlled trials. That gave them more opportunity for funding, and that gave more opportunities for the good conduct of the trials within our NHS. These are some of the things which we have done at our Manchester Foundation Trust at Wythenshawe Hospital. You can just go and look at it. There are Dermabond skin glue, whether if you put the skin glue instead of suture, it reduces the cosmetic pain, and also increases the patient satisfaction. Then we looked at it, the sutureless, especially for the patients with diabetes, it really helps. And also other studies such as closed drains, etc. Other work we did, it's not only the clinical work we did lots of endothelial work in the laboratory at the University of Manchester. And also we looked at the financial implications of the heart transplant and other valve surgeries as well. So who did pay? But I can't pay, because as you all know that we have mortgage to pay, kids' private education, and also family to feed. And that means there is one other option. What I can ask is the department. But the department said, I'm sorry, the NHS is in crisis. We do not have any money. What we have is money is not left over for research. Then I've been asked to go and look at other opportunities in anywhere else. So who paid? I always started with the surgical companies. Their surgical companies are loaded with money. They will be happy to give any development you want to do of research related and also education related. Then I've been introduced by one of our Professor Anne Karras. She was absolutely fantastic during that time. She said, "Oh, Bhuvana, why can't you look for the National Institute of Health Research, which will be fitting your bill and also pays everything." So how much grant we have gained as part of the MFT in surgical cardiothoracic department? Company grants itself 66,000 plus, and NIHR Fellowship is almost 1 million now. Teaching grant is 1.15 million now, and the income generated through the charities and everything is around 80,000 pounds. So these are all paid, not to me personally, I will love that, but it paid to our department, and these monies have been used for education to the research activities. So why did they pay? You may ask, oh, it's quite a lot of money. Why do they need to pay? Because high quality research matters for their patient care. And also, most of the surgical companies or NIHR and NHS wants new innovations and new development, especially when it comes to surgery. Now, many of you have seen lots of robotic surgeries we are doing it, which makes a huge difference for their patients. And also, yes, some of you will say it is very competitive scheme, Bhuvana. How can we go and get it? Because there are thousands of applications, then that narrow it to 30, and then 10 has been given out. Yes, it is very, very competitive, but if you can follow some of the tips which we are going to cover at the end, you can be successful. If you can see me coming from India as a small city and I can be successful as a professor, I would say nothing is impossible. And also you need a rigorous methodology, and that's what it all matters. And also support mechanism in place at work and also at the university. And especially don't forget at home, the family is very, very important. You need to be open to your family that what you are going to do, how you are going to share your timing as a work-life balance. So who can do surgical research? One thing everybody needs to understand, yes, of course, everybody is very, very helpful now, but still research is not only for doctors. All of our nurses, perioperative allied health professionals, and everyone can able to do research. And also who wants to transform their patient care should do research as part of their clinical work. No need to give up your clinical career anymore. You can do 50-50 or 80-20 or even 25-75. And there are lots of clinical academic program available in the NIHR. So let's talk about what is NIHR. They develop absolutely fantastic mentorship program. If you are interested in research, you do not have any capacity, you please join the mentorship program. I am one of the mentor, and we coach and we mentor for successful fellows in the future. And also you can get application support through nursing and midwifery incubator. Now it's not only for the nursing and midwifery, it involves the allied health professional and also NIHR Academy. And now the Manchester Foundation Trust has started a Catalys program, which supports quite a lot of other fellows across the Greater Manchester. One thing you all need to remember, you cannot just come back in a day and say, oh, I'm going to submit application tomorrow or with a month. It takes at least 1 year to bring a team together and collaborate with the multidisciplinary team and bring the university and clinical academics together. And then in addition to that PPA group, do not forget patients are the integral part of this research. So you have to have that. That takes 1 year to develop a good application. So what are the current awards and programs? So just to understand, start with some examples. Initial experience, if you want to think about opportunities as a researcher, there are lots of other avenues like internship. Some of you have heard about the internship. You can start with that. That gives you a master's qualification. Then pre-PhD is equal to the master's level. If you have already got a master's level, but if you have not published anything on that research area, please get into the pre-PhD, which is completely funded. Then you start with the doctoral fellowship, then beyond the doctoral fellowship, which is a postdoc, and then finally chair, which is the professor of any of your specialty. You can be a research leader and the senior future researcher as well. And there are lots of other supporting mechanisms which we will look at it, including the leadership and support and development. In glance, if we look at it, these are the awards. I hope you all can see. So initial experience, you can be an internship program, or as a in the holding side, any of you have seen Insight program, which pays your time and also research to do a master's. And that is a regional based program, which is very, very good. I would encourage all of you to attend. And also, if you are not interested in the initial internship, you can start with the pre-doctoral fellowship applications and then PhD award. And then beyond the PhD, there are 4 categories. You have a postdoctoral fellow, global health. If you want to do lots of work outside global health, please always remember the low-income countries, especially Africa and other part of the countries, Asia. They are very, very good in developing their research studies with you, and they will fund all your travel expenses and salary. And then clinical fellow lectureship is still only available to doctors and dentists, but I heard that in future it will be open up to all allied health professionals and nurses and midwifery. And then the new one is the important thing. If you do not have time, but still you want to do a clinical work, Senior Clinical Practitioner Research Award is one of the one to look for. The final one is a research professorship, which will give you a global health committee and also world-leading researchers. And then finally, senior investigator for everyone. So this has been simplified because, as you have seen, it's a quite variety of initial experience to chair, but now they have brought 3 schemes, but it all stays the same, but only for the people to look at it very easily: pre-doctoral award, doctoral award, and post-doctoral award. So top tips, what should I think for? Which award should I apply for? This is a question I always been asked. Always think about your career, your experience to date. Do not try to, lots of people who fail, they try to jump from one. So you are a diabetic specialist or specialist in surgery, they just try to go and do something else which is irrelevant to the experience. And that's what it always, the problem happens, and they be unsuccessful. Always, if you are a tertiary hospital based, don't try to do a community work if you do not have experience, or social care work or care home work. Always stick to the area where you have expertise. What the NIHR is trying to look at it is 3 Ps: person, place, and project, which we will discuss at the end. And that's what you have to aim for. And also think about, in 5 years' time, where do you want to see yourself? What do you want to see yourself as a manager or matron, or the top, hospital directorate manager? Or do you want to be in the clinical practice as a clinical researcher, as a senior practitioner? Or do you want to go to the university and become a professor and so on, or vice chancellor, or even the dean, whatever you like? But think about, map your career aspirations, and what experience and training do you need? Write it down. And then who do you need to work with, and what do you want to learn from them? And those are the points. Once you get those points, three points for each of these questions, then you can ready to apply which scheme will fit for you. I would always say NIHR is not only the people you need to think of, because it is very, very competitive, but there are lots and lots of charities which is supported by the NIHR. Please apply. Their money is very small, but it makes your life very, very easy. As you all see in my personal work, professional pathway, I started as an audit. Then I moved to the company, surgical charities, then surgical company, then NIHR. So always make use of any funding which is available in the worldwide. It doesn't need to be only UK based. You can apply for the European Horizon funding or international fundings. So what is happening, little bit for you overview. There are awards have already opened. The pre-doctoral award is just 29th January and completed in March. The other one will be opening at the end of the year. And then you have a doctoral award just opened 9th of April, few days ago. and it's finishing, the application deadline is 10th of June. Then postdoctoral level, if you are on 26th of March and 3rd of July is finishing. All the awards of the doctoral and postdoctoral runs twice a year. So you have an opportunity to go for the end of the year. We will see these three main ones. Pre-doctoral award. So anyone working in the local authority, registered HCP, or anyone working in the NHS, or you are a doctor, you can still apply, or a dentist. And it's inclusive to everyone. And the funding, what we are, so they will pay for a 1 year full-time equivalent or 2 years FTE, they will pay, or part-time, you can still have your clinical, they will pay for a master's level £5,000 for the UK rate. And there are some students have asked me, oh, I just come from, other part of most of the Indians and Africans have asked me, oh, we come here and working and we have not got our British citizenship or not even we are on the working visa, what can we do? Of course, you can apply for, but however, they will not pay the international fees. You have to cover your international fees. If, for example, for a homegrown student, if it is £9,000 or £5,000 for a master's, the international fees is around £20,000. So you have to look for the differences or wait until you become a British citizen. And then £1,000 conference fees or PPI and supervisory fees, everything is included, including a training and development fees. And one thing you need to understand, once you got this award, you have to complete it within 4 years is a maximum. If you don't complete it, they will just close and take the money, what is left. And the doctoral award is again same, you need to hold a first class, upper second class bachelor's degree, 2:1 they call them. I think they accept 2:2, but it depends upon the universities where you are applying. And if you are already registered for PhD, still you need fund. Of course, you can apply, but it needs to be within the 12 months of registration of your PhD. And they will pay for 3 years, or they will pay a full time or a 50%, or you can do them as a 75 and 25 as well. They will pay for all the salary, research cost, any development cost, including £3,000 for a conference fees to go anywhere in the world, and also full PhD fees for all those 3 years or 5 years part-time. Postdoctoral award, again, once you have got a PhD, you paid yourself or someone else paid, but you can still do the postdoctoral award and you can apply for that. Again, you can still keep your 40% of dedicated clinical practice. You do not need to give up your clinical. Again, the same thing for they fund the salary, they fund the everything else, such activities. It needs to be finished within 2 to 5 years. It can be 50% or 100%, but limited to 8 years. You have to complete it. And another thing, if anybody wants to take a paternity leave, maternity leave, that is allowed. That means your award will stop. Once you come back, you can restart it again. So do not worry about it. Or in between, you have a career break, or you don't want to do something has happened, circumstances, they are acceptable as well. That's what they have the long duration for you to complete it. I hope everyone has understood what I was talking about it. Now I'm just going to go for the top tips, trips, and traps of what is the NIHR looking for. How do you be successful? Because all my MPhil, PhD, postdoc, and what I'm going to apply for is all paid for the NIHR. I have not paid anything. That means you can apply as well. So 3 P's, I talked about it before. One, what they are looking at it is a person, project, and place. In person, what we are looking at it is, why do you want to do this research? What is the importance? What is the clinical benefit the patient is getting? Whatever you want to do for the NIHR, it all needs to be patient benefit research. Please understand that. If it is anything you want to do with the students or staff, this is not, the fellowship is not the right route. You can do a normal one, doctoral fellowship or anything, but not the clinical academic fellowship. If you want to apply for a clinical academic fellowship, it needs to be all patient focused, and you need to have a job in the NHS. And what have you done in this area? Whether you have written some paper, whether you have done some audit, whether you have done PPI work that have been maybe published, which is really good. If you have a publications, papers, if you do not have publications, please do not worry about it. You can start from the pre-doctoral fellowship, and that gives you opportunity to do a scoping review or systematic review or meta-analysis, or you can literature review. So that will give you a chance to publish. And then what can you bring to the table? Because that is a very important, how you are going to benefit the research community, how you are going to benefit the NIHR and the NHS and the patients. Those are the three main things. And also staff, because staff is more important to deliver for the patient. So look at all those things, what you can bring. And what is your research vision in 5 years' time? How do you want to see yourself? Are you going to just do a PhD for the name, for the thing, and then just to forget about it and go back to clinical? And that means this is not for you. What you need to do is you need to still practice clinicians and also academic and evidence-based research. And that's what they are looking at it. At the end of the day, you need to be thinking about they are spending the taxpayers' money and you are one of the taxpayer. Do you really want to spend worth of spending this taxpayers' money? And that's the main question that will be asked at the funding body at the end of the day once you've been selected. And then can you able to lead the research in the future on that? It can be a diabetic area, peripheral vascular disease, or surgery, or medical field, or anywhere else, even in the A&E or in the ward, everywhere. But whether you can be a research leader in the future. And that's it, you time to show off. Don't even worry about it, what people think. Just to tell what you have done, what all the amazing things you have done. Write about yourself with the passion in that paragraph. Always they give you 1,000 words. So write it about and show who you are. Next is a project. We talked about some in the person as well. Will this project, what you are proposing, is going to transform the patient care? Is it a original research, or you are just going to waste the time of just repeating something else which does not need to be looked at it? And what impact of your research will be in 5 years' time? Is it going to change the guidelines? Is it going to change the policies, or is it going to transform the care all over the world? Do you have the multidisciplinary team? That is very, very vital for you. Is it feasible? There is no point going as a multi-center or randomized control trial all over the world and then end up in you can't achievable within the 3 years or 5 years. So that's what they are looking at it. Is it feasible and fundable? Can you able to complete it within time frame? Have you got the training? Because the NIHR is not about only the project that you can go anywhere else and get the funding. It's about developing you to be a future research leader in the NHS. And that's what they will be looking at it. That means you can add statistical training or PPI training, patient and public involvement training, or any research methodology training, or any systematic review training, or anything else you want to do training which relates to your project. Or even some people, I did in my part of my PhD, I did a non-medical prescribing as part of my training. So you can add anything which is relevant to the patient and for your personal development. Place, is it suitable place to conduct? And that is an important thing to us. Of course, if you are from MFT, yes, MFT has a lots of research records, and also where you was choosing the universities, whether they are going to be appropriate supervisors there, and the clinical supervisor very important, and also whether the workplace can fund you and allow you to go out, because this is a commitment for 3 to 5 years. So when you come back, you want your job guarantee. That means your managers needs to sign you off. So please do not forget it to ask your manager before even applying. Is there is any career pathway? So when I started this in 2005, the hospital did write it down that we will make sure that Bhuvana will get the career pathway of professor of nursing in their surgical practice. And that's what they have to sign to the NIHR, say that they will help me to support to get it to where I want to go for that. And also, have they been, yes, of course, NIHR trainees are the evidence-based driven. Most of our NHS hospitals are workplace evidence-based driven. So other question you may ask, if I'm unsuccessful, what can I happen? Can I apply again? The rules vary for whether it's a pre-doc or a doctoral or post-doc. Yes, of course, you can apply for the same scheme on one further occasion. That means you have only two chances. So make sure that your application is really good. And no one is very 0.1%, I would say, successful in first time. Everybody gets rejected first time. Then they give a very detailed feedback. Then you look at it and then rewrite your application, then go for it. So that's a way you can be successful on the second time. And if you are deemed fundable and they say apply again, and that means you can go for the third try, but that all depends upon the NIHR reviewing committee say, oh, this is a fantastic application. They just need tweaking these things. Can you ask them to reapply? Then you can tweak it and reapply for the third occasion, but that needs to come. But otherwise, everyone can apply for twice only for that same scheme, please. And then they have to wait for 5 years or 3 years. Please don't quote me in, then they can reapply. If you want to find out more, please take this QR code. I think this is recorded, so you can go on this NIHR career development. You don't need to, you are already successful. You don't need to only for the career development. You can go and work for the NIHR as well. They are well-paid jobs as a program directors, program managers. So if you are interested, you just want a step career out from the NHS and you want to go and work, please do apply. And also you can look at for the NIHR Academy, where I'm part of one of the family member as well. Yes, they look after the family member really well. I would say if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving because the world is constantly changing. I really liked this from Martin Luther King, and it's absolutely fantastic. If you have an idea, always come to us and we will make it happen. You do not need to worry, and that's what we are here for. According to me, nothing is impossible. Anybody can do anything if you put your mind to it. If you have any questions, if you don't understand anything, if you want any help, I'm maybe the not person because I am the person who is a surgery oriented, but I'm very good in methodology. I'm very good in writing. I'm happy to help you. Then find you a good supervisor who you can go with. Please contact me at the Manchester email address or my Salford email address where I work. But I come only 1 day a week, but I will reply. If I don't reply within a couple of days, please email me back again. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Bhuvana. That was just a really fascinating talk and really encouraging as well. So just to say, to begin with, hang on, I'm just going to share this slide in the background. Just to say, if anyone has any questions, there's a Q&A box, so please put them there and we'll put them to Bhuvana. We do have a few minutes for questions. And in the meantime, I'm just going to ask a couple of my questions. So one of the things that you mentioned, Bhuvana, was being told that you shouldn't be doing research because you're not a doctor and that it's not your place. I speak to a lot of aspiring clinical academics, and that is quite a common theme, people feeling that, they're not encouraged, that it's viewed for various reasons as being extra to their job role or a distraction from important clinical work. How did you manage that kind of discouragement?
There are people going to be, maybe if you look at it, Judy, that is a good question because it's changed quite a lot. I'm talking about 2005. There are quite a lot of things have changed, and there are people who are research nurses are moving out of that comfort zone and coming and doing as being a primary investigator. I've been a chief investigator. It still people are not going to accept you to do it. That is a reality, but there are people who is going to accept you to do it. And I would say, find who is going to support you. Don't get discouraged with the people who is not going to allow you to do it. Just let them go to hell. It doesn't matter. But you just keep moving with the people who is supporting you. And that's what you need to aim for. Another thing is as well to show them, I'm sorry, I'm not just a nurse or allied health professional. I'm better than you. And that's what you have to show them after getting this, but keep working. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so it sounds like the message is discouragement is normal. It's part of the course, and actually it's important, just like you said, just to keep going and until you find those people that will encourage you and then focus more on their feedback. That sounds really positive. One of the other questions that I had was, you mentioned that you had got funding from all different sources, which as well, that's been my experience, is that often applications are unsuccessful and creativity is really important. One thing that you talked about was getting funding from private companies, which I personally don't have a lot of experience in. could you give us any tips that you have for how to approach private companies, like how to identify relevant ones, how to get in touch with them? What are your tips on that?
It all depends upon what type of project you want. If you look at it, like we have done various researches, starting from the techniques to the sutures and everything. So most of the sutures company, they are very good. You write a very good proposal and talk to them, talk to your local rep. Oh, this is what I want to do. What do you think about it? Or nowadays you have a social media. Oh, guys, I'm just thinking about it. And what do you think? Is there is anyone the funder is ready? So they always come up with the project, and you get a collaborator as well. They will be, oh, can we just do it together? And that's the way we started. I always asked, oh, this is a problem we are experiencing. We saw your product is really good. How can you help us to start with that? And they are really helpful to fund. It can
So
be
kind of, yeah.
£10,000, it can be £5,000, it doesn't matter, but start small. You will, gather up to the bigger amount.
So it sounds like it's about focusing on their interests, like their products, what they're
Yes.
doing, and then starting smaller with your asks in order to start building that relationship with them.
Yes, it doesn't need to be a randomized control trial. You can do evaluatory work as well, and the small audit, service evaluation, service improvement, and that does not need lots of money. And that will be a really very good fit for the NHS and the surgical companies. Around £50,000 is a good money to you to do the work, and also it will allow you to do 1 day a week from the clinical, and also you can publish papers and also produce reports. And it's all about NHS's research excellence, evidence-based practice, and that helps the managers as well. It's all about how you are convincing your manager matters here.
One of the things that you mentioned is building a team is really important. But again, I've heard from a lot of kind of aspiring clinical academics who say they're in clinic. The people that they're working with in their immediate team aren't interested in research. Maybe their manager isn't particularly supportive. What do you think are some of the ways that a aspiring clinical academic can get started in trying to build a research team around them?
One of the other everyone thinks is that means I need to work with only the close team, and that is not the key at all. The key is a multidisciplinary team. It can be anywhere else. It can be a vascular team. For me, for surgery, I don't need to be working only in my cardiothoracic. It can be different specialties who are interested. For example, robotic work, if I want to do it, we are not expertise. They are learning in cardiothoracic, but at the end of the day, urology, gynecology, they are well versed. So if I want to write something about it, so I get collaborated. And also physiotherapist, allied health professional, they are outside your team. Pharmacist, if you are doing any drug work, pharmacist, and just look at it, other people. And also charities you have, patient group you have. So patient voice matters. And when you get a patient voice and the patients, that's what they needed. For example, we are just did a virtual reality and also the music therapy recently in cardiothoracic, all our departments. So it's just nonsense. But at the end of the day, the patients came back and say, it's very important for us to listen to some music before we go to surgery because it reduces the anxiety and stress. Then the department said, that is a good idea. Why can't we do it? And that's the reason, bring the patients together. It's easy for you to convince other part of the management in your department.
I think I'll make this my last question, but it's a big one. I was really interested and really related to your point about the fact that we need to keep moving. I've been speaking to a lot of clinical academics, some for our podcast, which is a little plug, is on our YouTube channel. And that feedback has come from a lot of them, that the way that they actually have made progress is by keeping their eyes on current events, current developments, what is important, from a government perspective. What are some of the things that you think at the moment that aspiring clinical academics or current clinical academics should be aware of in terms of thinking about that kind of keeping moving, keeping going, keeping up with the times?
The new technology, which is going to transform the care, especially AI, is absolutely amazing. People get threatened. Even in the university, they get threatened. Actually, not actually. It's very, very, very good. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality training, and also using for the patient's benefit as well. And anything is important for patient transforming the care, and also giving the digital technologies digital health programs, and just ask the patients. They will give you the questions what they are looking at it, and there are lots of WhatsApp image and lots of things have been changed to reduce the appointments. The people are texting nowadays, the texting messages. So just look for things in your area which is going to make a change and is going to take you to another step rather than working on the 10-20 years before. If we can forward thinking and adapt the change, and that makes the difference quite a lot. And then people will hear, because everyone it gets interested when it comes to new technology, and that's what, and those are the innovations which drives your research forward.
Yeah, I completely relate to that as well in terms of the applications that I'm seeing and giving feedback on the moment. That's a common theme. And maybe for my last plug of the day, our last seminar was with Richard Cox, who's the Chief Nursing Informatics Officer at MFT, and he talked all about current technologies and what he sees as recent developments. So please, again, go across to our YouTube channel where you can watch that if this is something that you're interested in. I think we'll